Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Death, Taxes, and Hot Takes podcast number 2. We hope you enjoyed the first one. Today, we have a guest host on the pod, Nick Gauthier. Me and Drew have known him since high school. Rob met him a little bit after that, but we're all really good friends. Nick, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Happy to be on the podcast today. I am a junior in college. I go to Columbia. I study philosophy and psychology. You know, we're out here during the virus times doing nothing at home, just trying to have a good time. Going to talk about aliens today. Happy to share my lack of knowledge, but my passion for the subject.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. It's Drew here. I think we have some really exciting topics tonight. I think we've got some spicy hot takes in there, and I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, so we're going to get into some alien theories tonight. A little bit more interesting than the stock market in pod number 1. Aliens or no?
Well, obviously I'm going aliens, Bodycot. There's several theories out there which I'm very interested in. So I just like to break it down to the numbers first. I'm a big numbers guy, so I'm breaking it down. So there are 400 billion stars in our galaxy. And for each of those stars, there's an average of 1.6 planets. Now, this means that there could be up to 60 billion habitable planets in our Milky Way galaxy. Now, if we're breaking down the science, even if 0.1% of those planets was habitable, that's close to 1 million planets that have life. Okay?
Sure.
So obviously we have to think about this logically, that there is life out there. But what kind of life are we dealing with? Obviously, it's not going to be like our human life. And there's multiple exciting theories from the Fermi paradox that illustrate completely different topics, different theories, but it all connects to the central theory that there is life out there besides us.
Well, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I am in agreement that I think there is quote-unquote alien life out there, but is it intelligent? If it's intelligent, have they found us yet? I'm of the opinion they have not. If they had found us yet, I'm pretty sure we'd know about it. Number 2, is there intelligent life? It's possible, but I think that my opinion is they have not found us yet, and obviously we haven't found them, so we're kind of just shooting into blank waters here. We have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, the interesting thing about our intelligent life is we have been, in the Earth's lifespan, humans have been intelligent for 0.1% of our human lifespan. So I think humans have been around for 10,000 years, Homo sapiens?
No.
0.1.
No, at least 60,000 years.
Almost 10,000 years?
No, it's like 40,000.
40,000. But the point is, I think...
All right, I'm close. I'm in the ballpark.
No, we all know that
the
the
right
Earth...
order of magnitude. Yeah, no, we have to think about it this way. So if God created the universe and mankind is created in his image, I mean, how many different mankinds are we talking here? Like that, you think God's creating different mankinds are going to fight each other? Like, no, he's going to create one special one, and we are the special one.
Is that your take?
That's just my take.
That's your take?
But I think that can be backed up through the video that Drew was alluding to. There's these barriers to for a society to go through in order to get to an intelligent life form. And for example, future ones we had in the video, it said nuclear war or climate change. So I think there's just a 0.0001% chance of how human life form has happened to thrive on Earth, and we've gone through the previous barriers. I just think we're just the one in the kind.
I honestly think that there is some sort of life out there, as they've kind of discovered. Mars had rivers billions of years ago, so obviously there was some sort of life, but they obviously never achieved intelligence as we have, and I think that could be true for however many instances of life there is out there.
The thing is, though, is I think we have been intelligent on this planet for a microscopic period of time. The video said that we're not even to the type 1 civilization yet. And there are 3 types of civilization. Type 1 is basically self-sustained technology. So basically our intelligent life forms, humans, have gotten to a point where we have technology that can sustain our planet. Type 2 is when we're able to hone the energy of the sun, of our sun. So a planet in a distant galaxy, they theoretically could hone all the energy of their sun and use that to their advantage.
Now that would be electric.
3
That's somewhat impossible.
controls their entire galaxy. So that's basically galactic conquest. And obviously we haven't come across a life form or a distant life form that has galactic conquest in our own Milky Way galaxy, but
I think phase 2 you can
possible.
get that.
I mean, there are so many theories about there that we are in a simulation that is being controlled by a completely different life form out there.
Wait,
I mean,
now are these phase 1s?
possible.
Hold on. Are these phase 1s and phase 2s? Are they
no, phase 3 would be the one that is basically controlling us and keeping either just kind of letting us be and letting us letting our own fate decide ourselves, or they are kind of pulling strings or living amongst us.
No, but so the way I think about it is like, I would say not modern day science, but the idea of science and human, and like the idea of science has been around for the last 500, 400 years since Newton and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've had like no time.
And you have to think in the last 3 decades, the technological advances we've made are just crazy,
astronomical.
Right? Exactly. So you have to think in 500 years, in 2,000 years, where are we going to be? Are we going to be at a point where we can go out into our galaxy and let other life forms know we're there? Because that hasn't happened to us yet from what we know. Like there hasn't been another life form, another society that's come to our area and say, hey guys, we're here.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to think, if a society is 500 years in advance from us, why haven't they done that yet?
I think that my opinion on it is that we operate as an intelligent society that can grow at whatever exponential amount that we want to. I personally think we're going to destroy each other within the next 2,000 years. I don't even think there's going to be a human race.
And that's part of the Fermi.
But also, our sun is going to die out in however many billion years. And I think personally, there's been intelligent life wherever it is, but it has never been able to talk to another intelligent species in time before their sun or their star destroys themselves. So I think we've never lined up. So,
exactly.
Yeah. And something to add to that is that, like, we have to take into account what's the fastest possible speed that any information can travel at, and that's the speed of light. And if that's held constant, which we think it is, it would take millions of years just to get outside of the Milky Way. If there are other planets that have habitable, conditions, if there's intelligent life out there, and it takes millions of years to get there, like, what sort of information can we be sending? I mean, if they have something equivalent to some sort of bot that can be sent through space that could, like, finally eventually hit Earth, reach Earth, I mean, the chances are just slimmed down.
Yeah.
Well, there's no drag in space. So if we sent out something that was not able to even like send us information back, like it was just a piece of metal and it had like maybe like a time capsule in it, we would eventually it would go forever. If we propelled it in a direction, it would go forever. So,
and it's just the small chances that it hits something like the planet Earth that someone's going to interpret that. I mean, they're already tiny.
I mean, is there even anything
I mean,
on
the
Earth?
intelligent life that's sending out a signal, they could have a radius so big, but right now we're not even close to sending out signals that can even reach close to planets in our local group.
I think that'll happen, though, at the rate we're expanding.
Now, I would like to say, though, that here's what is interesting to me. On August 15th of 1977, Ohio State University received a signal from outer space that has been used to support extraterrestrial intelligence. But of course, it's just a radio signal. And honestly, like, we have sent signals into space as well. And, it's as if we're like talking, we're never going to be able to interact with these people.
That's very interesting, though. In 1977, they picked up a radio signal.
Yes, correct. Yep, yeah, and here's the craziest, but it repeated every 16 days exactly, and then it would go silent for another 12 days.
That's interesting.
Just look this
the
up.
only
This
thing
is
is,
kind of crazy.
Radio signals can be made throughout the environment.
No, it's a radio signal.
We completely glossed over a point I wanted to make earlier, is that the whole reason we're having this debate or this conversation is because the Pentagon released UFO images, which is crazy. I mean,
okay, but
three short videos. And I mean, two of the videos, the people are just astonished about what they're seeing. They're confused
because they tracked onto it, which is
I think this is much bigger news than.
No, I personally think that all these
today.
sightings on planet Earth are like undercover other governments that are doing these things.
Exactly.
Because if you had an alien life, like internet, like what do you call it? Intellectually like advanced society, you would make contact with the human race. You either want to kill them and take their planet.
No, you're not looking at it right.
You
don't know that because there's a theory out there that maybe they just want to observe us. Maybe they want to see what we're doing.
Think about it. Think about human nature.
Interfere with us. Like maybe we have nothing to add to them, but we're interesting. We're
exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
Because we look back at the 1700s and we're like astonished by it, right? I was watching Joe Rogan. He was saying there's people, they spend 30 years in their life going to like Africa and studying a small mammal, right? People are if it's any intelligent life form, they're going to be very interested by any sort of thing going on. And if you look at this globe, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is going on? We have these things walking around that have stock markets, technology, planes, cars, buildings. They're going to be like, what's going on, right? So I think it's not like they can't interact with us. It's just that they might be watching us and we don't know.
Or maybe let
me just throw this out here. Like, supposing that they're far more intelligent than us, and they're looking at us, like we're little rodents nibbling on cheese, and they don't think it's that interesting. But they're like, you know what? Let me just send in a coronavirus and see how they react. Like, it might be fun games, and I might learn something from it.
So, Nick, are you saying that they've contacted the Chinese government? Is that what you're saying?
They might just be philosophers. Like,
they might just be philosophy majors, and they're writing the research paper about the human life. Like, you never know.
You mean like they go back to their like alien university? They're like eyewitness humans, and like
exactly, and they might just be writing their thesis on.
No, like this is what I did on my senior getaway. This is like what I did. Like,
they just find human nature interesting, but like meanwhile they're doing intergalactic travel in 3 seconds. Like, our planes are like toys. Like, they think it's funny.
I mean, it's a crazy concept. I think
it's boggling my mind right now. I'm starting to go down the path of like thinking about how big these life forms are. It's like, what if like one of our cities was like the size of one of them, one person, or like what if they're microscopic? It's freaky.
It's crazy to think about how, like, I hate to say it, how insignificant we are.
Oh yeah.
Of things, we are a speck on a speck on a speck, and if multiverse, we're on another speck of an infinite speck. This is insane. This is a crazy concept. And when you really think about it, you get trapped into this void of what am I doing on this planet? Why am I here?
Well, no, I would disagree with that. Everybody has their own purpose in life to understand, and it's important to you. It's not important in the grand scheme of things, but it's important to you.
No, I 100% agree with that. I'm just talking about like.
He's talking about the macro perspective.
Yeah,
like,
but I would say,
like, look, I mean, he's not taking away Bodycot that you might, find it valuable to go to church on Sunday, but just because coronavirus hit doesn't mean that God doesn't care about you anymore.
No, of course not. I mean, look,
it's not the end.
Look, I have an actual theory on what we're living through right now. Not on the coronavirus, but in terms of like how the world is made up of itself. Mm-hmm. And I think, here's what I think. I personally subscribe to the Horton Hears a Who theory, which is that in Horton Hears a Who, their entire universe is made up of a speck on a flower.
This is interesting.
In another universe, and it pans out, and it's like just a speck. And I think that's what we're dealing with.
I mean, honestly, it's not as literal as that. Like, we're not a speck on a Dorito, but
now, how do you know that?
I'm just assuming.
No one can comprehend it, buddy. Like,
but we're a speck in the universe. Like, we're a speck.
No.
And I think that's exactly what Dr. Seuss is saying. I think that's exactly what he's getting at, is that we are so microscopic compared to the entire grand scheme of things.
Now, are you saying that Dr. Seuss is alien life and he knew about this whole thing?
No, but I would say that Dr. Seuss is a great philosopher of the last 50 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's very insightful. I mean, and like if you want to take it like slightly more scientifically, I'm reading A Brief History of Time right now by Stephen Hawking, and he talks about how like where physics is at right now, where how we understand the universe. Like if you think the Big Bang is the best theory to explain everything, the universe is
Honestly,
constantly expanding. The Milky Way is this tiny galaxy among billions of others, and then Earth is one Earth solar system around the sun is just one solar system. Like among that, like we are a speck, like in the most literal and physical way you could think about it. And just as Drew was saying earlier, there's just a huge possibility, just statistically, that there are other galaxies just like us. There are planets just like us. And there's probably life just like us, if not more intelligent and less intelligent, the whole spectrum.
And honestly, I appreciate scientists and their theories on the Big Bang. I truly do. But if you think about it, what is more juvenile than to just say there was a Big Bang and everything was created? There's no underlying science behind that. There isn't. So
And
what,
this, yeah, I think this I can like kind of use that like perfectly to transition to like another idea of kind of like my mindset is like I question everything. And
oh, do you,
so
Rob? Okay.
yeah, so when you look at, you know, scientists telling us about, oh, the universe is infinite or the universe is 90 billion blah 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 whatever,
No
right?
one has any clue. Yeah.
How do you know? Because they're telling us that and we believe it. But how do they know? They
Mathematical
don't know. And
estimations.
what's funny is I've read so
It's
back
math,
in
dude.
World War II, we
It's not
after
just
the
words.
war ended,
No, but Nick, I think you have to
we
say
after
that we don't
hold
know.
on, Bodycot, no interrupting. But after World War II, all the Nazi scientists, right? They were so smart, and America said, "Hey, we're going to take you guys in, and you guys are going to help us out a lot, right?" And that's why I forget the name. I don't even know if I could pronounce it anyway. But one of the guys that did the first like 6 major NASA missions, right? He was a Nazi scientist. He came over here and did them, helped us out a lot. We learned a lot. But what's funny is he was really good friends with Walt Disney. They were best friends, and they would go down to Walt's properties, and they would sit there and just map out the universe for fun, right? These guys were enjoying it. They were having fun. They're like, this is awesome. And then for decades, people believed what they were just doing for fun. Like that's why that's why I question everything. You don't actually know. Like, it's just it's mind boggling.
Most of the estimations on
You can
the
look it
size
up.
of our universe, the amount of galaxies there are out there, were all based on math. And to be
Yeah, but honestly, Drew,
those
what
How do you know
is
estimations
there's not a
have to
wall
be
that just
close
stops
to
like that?
accurate.
what is math? We made it up. It doesn't exist.
I mean, this could get into a really good philosophical. Actually, like my most recent paper was on whether math is made up or discovered.
It's completely made up.
And
It's like
there-
time. Math does not exist. Time does not exist. We've made it up to try to understand our universe.
I mean, okay, so the last two things you said were just like slightly absurd.
No,
I
they're
think like
not. No,
what
they're not. You can say
Einstein
one apple
mainly
plus. No, hold on. You
proved.
can hold on. You can say one apple plus one apple equals two apples. But do you know what makes up the apple? The molecules that make the apple up? We can't even quantify them. So we've made up a denominator that does not exist.
That's one way to look at it, but most of our, or 2 points, like a lot of our theories are almost entirely mathematical and don't even refer to very like, qualitative like things. That they're about functions, waves, and things like that that aren't that physical when it comes down to it. They're just laws that describe how things move. And the other thing is that time, since like the beginning of the 1900s, has been thought to be the fourth dimension. It's not just this thing that we've made up. Einstein proved that space-time is something that the universe actually exists in, and that time and like there's a continuum. It's relative. It's very mathematically robust, and that's where most physicists operate in. That's the paradigm that we operate in.
I'm not trying to say.
And I'm
So
not
our
saying that,
day,
like-
so our day that we're in is the same as like across the entire galaxy. Like we have different time zones here. Like I'm trying to understand. Like, are we all in the same moment, or like we're all in the same time?
No,
period?
time
No.
does not exist. We've completely made time up. Now,
No,
does
no,
something
so
take?
here's the point. Time is not made up.
It
Time
absolutely
is
is
just
made
as
up.
real as space, but the thing is that they're relative. And like depending on what light cone you're in, if light is the fastest thing that can move in the universe, but it could only, like, for example, like we know that the sun hits the earth 8 minutes later than like the time that it, the light waves emit from the sun.
But Nick, we don't know that light is the fastest thing to move in the universe. We don't know that.
That's the running hypothesis. I'm not saying I know
Yeah.
that for a fact.
I
but like,
think you can get into
Yeah, but
Yeah, we
so,
could debate everything. You could
hypotheticals,
just say
but,
you
like,
could just be a skeptic about everything that comes out of my mouth, and that's fine. Like that's a valid way of looking at it. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna come here and be like, I know as a fact, like it's indisputable. But
well, we've kind of gotten off the cart here, but like back to aliens. I mean, honestly, back to
Well, I think
aliens, it all
should we
operates in
talk
the
about
same way.
UFOs?
We don't know about aliens. We've made up our own reality, and we don't know what they've made up about themselves. We don't know if they can reach us or not. And I think it comes into question. There has to be alien life. Have they contacted us? I don't believe that. We've
I think
obviously
they
not
could
contacted.
have contacted us in a prior time before we were intelligent life,
And
we
then they
couldn't
just disappeared?
understand
No.
Have you seen the paintings of in the 1400s where they drew UFO people looking up at UFOs, the same shape as we say they are nowadays? People would look up at them, and like it was in the 1400s.
You're
Like,
telling me
That's what I'm saying,
that
Bodycot.
aliens have not advanced past their models from the 1400s. I don't believe that. They've got to get a different model.
Well,
Well, I don't
Bodycot,
believe
they
that
could be
model,
working
but-
at a totally different time period as us. They could have contacted us 50,000 years ago, and how is that ever going to be recorded to modern day time?
Somebody says something to
it's
their
not about their
friend, they
model,
write it
and
down.
what we see
I don't
their
know.
model is depend like the models they have, the things they're flying in, the flying saucers, whatever you want to call them, if they're real or not, they're not. But the way they travel throughout the air, like that, like when people say they see them like flash through the air, right? They dash, they see it, they pop up and they disappear. That's because the way they travel through like the universe, like the air. There's some weird like theories and like ideas behind this, but they like
I mean,
hold
go
up
back to the
and, like,
videos that the
the-
Pentagon just released. I have a quote here actually from a U.S. Navy pilot. He said the UFO that he saw got close to it. It rapidly accelerated to the south and disappeared in less than 2 seconds.
Right. I think
So only
that's
abrupt, like a ping pong ball bouncing off the wall. It would hit and go the other way.
I think
Yeah,
that's
so
I
do
think
you know
that's
what
like
any other
China or
flying
something.
object that happens.
I think that's
nowadays,
China.
any
Yeah,
other
so
drone
actually,
or anything like that.
that is a thing. So there's actually a lot of those like exact sightings. I'm not saying the Pentagon one, but a lot of those in recent times. It's actually like a rare thing that the Earth does. It's like a lightning flash that like balls up in a disc and like can sit still and then move around. And it can either come from the ground, like it has to do with the plates. Like sometimes they just create a certain electric current and it flashes up. Sometimes and it's on video, but like that's why a lot of people are like, "Oh, look at this UFO," and it's just a weird electric.
Yeah, but I'm just kind of interested because the Pentagon releases these aren't conspiracy theorists just out in Arizona, wacko dude wearing a tin hat. Like these are legit U.S. government officials releasing these videos to the public, and why would they do that?
Hold on, I have to tell you that they had to release these because of a certain time period in which they had to release them legally. They had to release these videos, so that's not like they just released.
So
them.
why were they withholding them for how many years?
Because of
3 years,
the
I think.
speculation that we're seeing today. They don't want this type of information out there. They don't know themselves. They're having the same debates in
No one ever knows.
the
That's
war
the thing.
rooms.
95% of the sightings have been proven they've been proven it's not a UFO. And let's say most of that we just haven't been able to figure out yet. So maybe there's a 1% chance one of these UFO sightings are real.
Look,
But
I
there's
personally
no factual evidence saying that any.
Do you think that it's
proof of
possible?
alien life form survives.
I have a
or has
question.
contact.
Do you think that it's possible, no matter what your political persuasion is, and we have many different ones in this podcast? Do you think that it's possible that when I would think that if there were UFOs when Trump came into office, he was not connected to any party, he would have released this. But do you think that the government like came on to they were like, you can't say anything, and he believed them? I think he would have released it by now.
Well, I think it goes deeper than just Trump. I don't think like.
Oh yeah, but I'm
understand.
saying he's somebody that has this. He has the answers if he wants them. He has.
No,
them.
he doesn't. It's actually like if
I
you
just-
listen, people talk about like the army, the different branches, Army, NASA,
Space Force.
Space Force, Navy, or Marines, Army. They all are like very like separated. They have a hard time communicating, and all their files are not.
They're like
You
encoded.
can't access them.
Yeah.
So like an Army person can't get direct files from the Navy. Like they have a lot of problems internally. But but I think that just goes into the fact that it's deeper than Trump, and he can't just see, here's a Pentagon
It's not
video,
about
I'm just gonna
Trump. I'm
release
just
it.
making the point that if he had the information that said UFOs were real, either he would have released that, or he's been told not to do it. And if he was
I
told
think
not
it
to
was-
do it,
I also just don't think that's the first thing on his to-do list. I think,
And I don't think we know.
I will tell you
anything that's
something
going
right
on.
now.
We know 1% of everything he knows about all
if
the
I
weird
walked,
stuff that goes on.
no, I'm just saying that if I were president, right, and I walk in the Oval Office and they tell me aliens are real, I would consider thinking, like, should the American public know this? How would they react? I think that's a huge part about
I
why
don't
we
know if
don't
you
know.
I
know.
mean, yeah, but how did we jump to there? I thought we were just talking about like the videos existing. And
Well, they exist
they're-
because they had to be released. But the fact of the
yeah,
matter
and I
is,
think they weren't released because they just don't know enough. Like I think
Yeah.
if they had that information and it was like, oh yeah, that was an alien spaceship, and we talked to the guy inside and he was like, yo, I'm Bob, God sent me or something, like
I just
that
don't
would be
think they
some
would
shit
tell
worth
us.
sharing. But like if they just had just like someone's GoPro of this thing rocketing through space, like it's I mean there's a reason why they're not sharing, because they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
They're having the same conversation we are, like what are the possibilities here?
Yeah,
We
they're
don't
all
know.
like,
What
what's
else
going
are they
on?
hiding? What else has happened in the last 3 years that they're hiding that they haven't?
They probably have more sus videos. You
A
don't know what
lot,
sort of
dude.
things
We got a
they've seen
lot.
in the ocean.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I mean,
I want to do an episode on the ocean because I think the ocean is way cooler and more mysterious than space.
well, obviously, like we obviously don't know whether they exist or not. There's some theories. We've all talked about what our theories are on it, but we're at a loss as well as the human civilization. Next topic up, Drew's going to talk about it a little bit. Go ahead.
yeah. So obviously we're talking about aliens, the possibility of aliens, the concept. But recent news, despite coronavirus, NASA is still planning to move forward with their moon landing in 2024. Now, many people think that this is ultimately to create a checkpoint from Moon to Mars. So once we reach the Moon, we'll refuel and then shoot for Mars. That is ultimately the big goal for the next 50 years in space exploration. So what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think this means for space exploration in the short term and the long term? And do we think this is going to be prevalent in today's society?
Kind of looking at it first, like looking at it in a broad aspect, is you ask yourself, is it worth it? In my opinion, and we can all touch on that. And I feel like at this point we might know enough about Mars to. I know we're moving in a step forward, right? This is a big thing if we do get there. But I think we know enough about Mars at this point where it's like there's nothing there that might not be really beneficial to waste our resources and a lot of money going to explore, obviously. So like I don't know, I kind of asked that big question, is it worth it?
I am big on RD's idea. If we're going to get to Mars and we have an ability to travel past Mars, then we're going to have a fuel source that's going to allow us to travel further than we've ever even imagined. So what's the point of making the stopgap between the moon, even Earth, and Mars? Like, we might as well just develop a fuel source that can make us travel through space at the fastest possible rate and go elsewhere.
Yeah, but we have to test it by going to Mars. We're not going to
No.
go shooting for Pluto on the first run. We're obviously
Yeah,
to
I'm
our
with Drew here.
planet first.
It's like you're going to see your neighbor, right? It's like the moon is your neighbor, right? And so you're going to go there first, and then you're going to go down the block. Well,
All right, no, it's more like, how do I get to your house if I'm going to your house? Do I
you drive straight there.
and I'm in your house, or do I step out the door, go in my car, make a few stops, drive about 20 minutes, and then end up at your house? There are steps to go along with this. And if we're going to be jumping steps, I mean, we're going to put people's lives at danger. It's just not a smart move. I think we have to go Moon, Mars, further space exploration.
Okay, but that's
think
gonna,
about it. Think about it
I
this
like
way.
that.
All right, so you have a child, right? You say, "Hey, I want him to ride his bike," but before he rides his bike, he needs to ride the tricycle. He rides the tricycle. Where's he going to go? You're going to send them 3 neighborhoods over? No, first you're going to send him down the block. You're going to see him. You're going to
That's
watch
fair.
him get there. You're going to watch him come back. Maybe you want to send him around the corner, watch him come back. You want to send them to Mars. You want to see what they can do at Mars. They're going to get off the bike safely, hop back on the bike safely. No one's watching them. Maybe pick up a few memorabilia, pick up a rock, bring it home to daddy, kiss his forehead, and maybe he scraped his knee. You want the full experience. You want to make sure he's safe. We want to make sure that our astronauts are not going to be sending out American people, and we're not going to have any crazy, unexpected things happening. People dying, the spaceship exploding,
like the Challenger.
like half a galaxy away. So
I think that's a really good way of putting it. But then I just go back to the point of, is it worth it?
Well, I think we have to take into account that if you're using the analogy of putting your kid on a bike, he's already done this. He already went to the moon in '69. We already did that.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
Did we?
Stanley Kubrick.
Bodycot, you're missing the big picture.
You're missing it.
The big picture here isn't going to the moon. That's what the mission was in the 1960s. The mission now is space exploration, seeing how far we can get and see what we can discover out there. I mean, we just had this whole segment on aliens and how we think it's the concept of that there are aliens is highly probable.
Right.
Well, why don't we? I mean, let's theorize that we have another 5,000 years.
Mhm.
Humans. I mean, that's a long time for us.
I
We're
don't
probably extinct before then. But 5,000 years by now, we may have contact with other human life. And
Or
the
other
way
life, yeah.
we got that was by taking the first step of going to the moon, and then the second step of going to Mars, and then further exploration. We future generations will thank us for taking those initial steps.
I like your thought that people are going to thank us for like the
All right.
initial steps that we take, but at the same time, I just think they're too small. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think you're not thinking about it like the scientist does. So there's so many factors to take in here. Like, you may think it's small because you're like, what are we going to do on Mars? Like, you've seen all the movies. Matt Damon didn't find anything on Mars. Like, we're kind of confused about how he survived there. But like, when it comes down to the sort of research we're going to be doing on the surface of Mars, there's a lot of shit we just don't know. We've never had a human land there. We don't know if we could even do it. We're just speculating. So the first step is like, get back out to space, get back on the moon. That was years ago that we did that. Let's see if we get humans out there. Let's then see if we could get them to Mars. I mean, some people think the moon landing didn't even happen. So like saying we're just trying to send humans outside the galaxy as far as we can, that's like, we don't even know if you're going to come back. We don't even know if that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I mean,
but
it just makes
Bodycot.
sense to see what information we could get. Like, can people survive out there? Period.
Let's think about the movie Interstellar. Like, think about how sick that would be
Yeah.
if 1,000 years from now we're traveling through the galaxies. Like, come on, that would be so sick if humankind
Yeah.
could be able to do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and imagine there really are wormholes. I mean, like, we have to get rid of your whole thing that time's just a construction. Just assume for a second that it's a part of this fabric of the universe. And there's such a thing as a wormhole, and you could literally travel through time just by popping through a little blip in space, ending up thousands of years in the future. Let's say you get sucked into a black hole. You don't know what's on the other side of that
And
black
also-
hole. There's so many things we don't know.
The life on Earth that we have is limited. It's a finite amount of years left.
Right.
We're going to have to find another planet if humankind wants to survive. And that's a huge part of space exploration, I think.
I agree with you in the concept that we have to establish some sort of base on the moon. I just have the problem with that we haven't been there since the 70s. I don't know why we haven't, but it's concerning to me.
It is, and I think that's why there are good reasons to have this mission take place in 2024. We want to figure out, because what they really want to do is they don't even want to just like set up a base. They want to set up a base that's going to orbit, like a satellite base that's going to orbit the moon.
Okay.
So if we get a space station out there in lunar orbit, that'd be pretty sick. That's like not just a place to like stop off and hang out. That's like, we're out there. We're not just on the Earth's surface. We're in space.
And also, it's just another opportunity for America to flex on other countries. Like,
I mean, if anything, like,
so
it's
upset
just-
about us just flexing on Mars. Like, that's huge for America.
Well, I mean, we faked the moon landing just to flex. So
Hold on. Okay, hold on. We did not. Hold on. We did not fake the moon landing. RD, you believe that we faked the moon landing?
I don't know if I believe that, but
Hot take.
Yo, so
listen, if the moon landing turns out to be fake, I will never drink a foreign beer in my life.
There's
That means
no
I'm
way they ever
committing to
released
Bud
that.
Light,
no way they
Budweiser,
released that. 100%.
Coors.
So we've been talking a little bit about some checkpoints on the way to intergalactic travel, but now we have some hot takes coming for you. RD, what's your hot take?
this perfectly connects to the whole idea of the podcast tonight, and that is that Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith is the greatest movie of all time.
Hot take.
Feelings?
All right. First off, it's not even the best Star Wars movie. It's not in the
Okay, I'd rather talk
three.
about that. Let's talk about that. Let's debate that. Not all time. Let's talk about in the Star Wars universe.
All right, it's not even the top 3 of the best Star Wars movies of all time.
Why?
All right, we got Empire Strikes Back, we got Return of the Jedi, and then we got The New Hope, and then we got I'll give you Revenge of the Sith at number 4. Okay, got at number 4, and you're saying it's the greatest movie of all time. Have you ever watched another movie besides that movie?
Like James Bond and Star Wars.
I can name maybe 100 movies better than that, maybe 200.
Not a big movie guy.
Easily.
No, but I came out really hot there. I'll be honest. The whole
It
idea
was
is
steaming.
it's the
It
best
was
Star
steaming.
Wars movie out of the 9.
Yeah, bro.
so
Get back on the sauna. You know, get hotter. Come back out. Cool off. Then say something.
All right, I'm hot. So, I just think that Episode 3 and the whole prequel trilogy is by far the most important aspect of Star Wars. Just everything in Star Wars. I think it's the staple. And if for me, I grew up watching the prequels, so like when I think about Episode 2, people hate on that. But I think about, oh my gosh, the clones fighting on Geonosis. That stuff was so cool to me.
All right,
Because
let me get you straight here, okay? I am one that grew up loving the prequels. When I was young, I used to love Qui-Gon Jinn,
Yes.
the Phantom Menace.
the most important,
some sympathy for-
Star Wars character in the entire
All right,
universe.
let me talk. All right, I used to love the prequels. Then I got to the age of about 15, and I watched Jar Jar Binks. I watched the Battle of Geonosis. And I was like, this is kind of trash.
So many lights.
We're watching the originals again, and I was absolutely enthralled with the stories. I mean, I love Star Wars. I've seen each Star Wars episode at least 20 times. I might be the biggest fan of all time.
No, you haven't seen the Clone Wars or Rebels, or you haven't played half the video games or read the comics, or the
All right, I'm a
Legends or the
movie fan.
EU.
I'm a huge movie guy. All right, but all I'm saying is that the original stories, the storyline is better, the acting is better. I think the action, obviously, it's not better, but it has more meaning to it. There's an emotional draw to it, and I think that's just unmatched with the originals compared to the prequel.
I don't think you're just not connecting with Anakin. Maybe.
Well, and Anakin Scott. Let me tell you something. The actor Hayden Christensen is actually a terrible actor. He's awful. I don't know how
He
he
did a
was
good
cast
job,
in
though.
that movie. I have no clue how he was cast in that movie.
I think he did a great job.
Have you ever seen any other movie he's done? He did. Do you guys
good.
remember? There was a movie about. There was a journalist who made up a bunch of stories. He was in Washington D.C. He wrote for a paper there. He made up a bunch of stories. His name was Stephen Glass. They casted Hayden Christensen as Stephen Glass. I watched that movie in class at Penn State. Horrible actor. It doesn't change. He's just terrible.
I would like to see. I know Nick's seen all the movies, but he's not an uber Star Wars fan. I mean, I know me, Will, and Rob are big fans. Well, what's your opinion on it, Nick?
Here's the thing. I think that they're actually very decent, and I think they bring a lot to the Star Wars universe as far as like world building goes. But if we're talking just films, like what's a good movie? They're not the same as 4 through 6. I mean,
There you go.
there's no
I
contest
think
there.
so,
Like,
but
Well, what about
I think
7,
like
8,
as
9?
per Star Wars fans, like there's so much there that you can't ignore it. Episodes 1 through 3 have so much to offer, and like I find them more interesting in some ways. But if we're gonna talk like what's the best Star Wars film, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, that's a fan favorite. That's also just like a great movie.
It's
Like,
such a cold take though, Nick. Like everybody loves Empire, but like
yeah. If you
I
want to
mean,
get
it's
hot
hard
take
not to
though,
love
I'm
Empire.
looking-
yeah. If I want to get
I'm looking-
real hot take with it though, if I'm gonna get real hot take, I'm probably gonna say that Episode 2 is low key really fire.
oh
There you
no.
I don't
think-
like
okay,
sands.
So real
I don't
quick,
like sands.
Real quick. Okay.
It gets
that wasn't the
everywhere.
intention spot, by the way. He was told to say that, so don't hate on him for like him saying.
You
those
can hate on
things.
George Lucas
But,
for making a shitty
like,
movie.
Yes, but so a couple things. First off, those movies, the way they used CGI was just
Horrible.
they were so far ahead of the whole industry. So that was the first thing. Second off,
Dude, they got
Second,
worse.
they weren't.
Episode 1
said,
was better than episode 2 CGI.
But they weren't though.
Okay.
Like 1999
But like Nick
Titanic was
said-
1999 Titanic was the introduction of CGI into the major film industry, and it was better and still holds up to this day than.
But it wasn't
prequels.
as in depth and crazy as everything in episode 1, 2, and 3. I mean, every single clone was CGI. I mean, everything was CGI, and that just goes into the point of if you watch the Clone Wars 7 seasons on Disney Plus, that will make you love the prequels. So
I
much
agree
more.
with
mean,
you.
it's
I like the Clone
absolutely amazing.
Wars. I
And
do.
that goes into
Right.
Dave Filoni, the guy who's made those and Rebels, and like been a staple with George Lucas for 20 years. I mean, I think he should take over. I mean, it's not going to happen with Disney, but I think he should take over the story writing for Star Wars, and he would do an amazing job. I mean, he is just a perfect person to take the job. He knows a lot about the lore. He understands what the fans want, and he just is really good at storytelling. And as we've seen with the Clone Wars episodes on Disney Plus, and recently I talked to Drew about this on the golf course, but he brought up in the Mandalorian behind the scenes episode 2 about how the prequels were so important to the overall story of Star Wars, and about how Qui-Gon Jinn's fight with the Dual Fates, that if he would have won, he would have been that father figure for Anakin, and
I
Darth
saw
Vader
that.
would never happened. Yeah, it was absolutely
Right.
amazing.
Right.
That man needs to take over.
I
all
saw
Star
that.
Wars.
That was great.
I want to get back to one of Rob's points that he made. He said that if you watch the Clone Wars, all 7 seasons, that the prequels are much better. All right. Personally, I don't want to watch 24 hours of a kid's show to appreciate a 2-hour movie a little bit more.
It's not about appreciating the movie.
No,
more,
it's not, though.
understanding
Exactly.
the
You
universe
can't
deeper
say like,
and
"Oh,
deeper.
that's a good movie," because 7 seasons of this one show make that movie
yeah,
so.
but it's
No, I think it's for
understand
the
that, but I'm talking about
universe.
the people,
Yeah.
the clones in the 3 movies. You don't understand how much character and like passion is behind them through the movie. So I'm saying if you go into the 7 seasons or even seasons 5, 6, 7, you understand these characters on such a deeper emphasis.
yeah. But Rob, I would ask you: have you seen Rebels?
Yeah.
Like Rebels, single-handedly on Disney XD introduced that Darth Maul survived that fall.
Yep.
Like
It's
they
so
single-handedly
much.
did
Darth
that.
Maul's the GOAT. That's
So
my
much
favorite Star
lore
Wars
behind
character
the
of all time.
universe.
Hot
I mean, it was
take.
amazing.
I
Darth
think it's
Maul is the
incredible.
goat.
Yes.
No, he's.
And
I think
season
it's
7 of
incredible.
Clone Wars, the final season, they emphasized him a lot, and it was absolutely amazing to see.
Yeah.
He knew Order 66 was coming. He had these feelings. We saw I don't want to spoil it, but we saw
Yeah,
Ahsoka
don't
and
spoil it,
connect, and it was absolutely amazing. You guys need to watch it.
Yeah, so we've been talking a little bit about Star Wars, but next we're going to transition into our winners and losers of the week. Drew, go ahead. Who's your winner and loser?
All right, so I actually have 2 losers. I don't even have a single winner. I think it's the
week.
coronavirus. So my first loser is Hong Kong. So I don't know if you guys saw it today, but China moved a hugely controversial national security law for Hong Kong, which basically is just another huge blow to Hong Kong and their autonomy. And I'm just not liking what China's doing lately. First the coronavirus, now they're trying to take over Hong Kong. Messed up, dude. All right, and then the second loser is the SAT and ACT. I don't know if you guys saw, but the University of California is planning on phasing out SAT and ACT over the next 5 years. Obviously, the University of California, one of the biggest universities in the world, one of the most well-respected ones, and them phasing out this test, I think it's going to trickle down. It's going to be a domino effect, and you're just going to see the SAT and ACT become obsolete.
All right, Nick, who's your winner and loser?
Losers easy. Losers Pakistan. I don't know if you guys saw today the flight crash. Over 100 people died. Really tragic. Domestic flight. You know, you think about the coronavirus. People are dying. That's not up to them. A flight and people just, everyone is just coming to the same exact fate. That's another tragic event that no one has control over, and I think people are scrambling now. They feel like that facade of control that they thought they had is just crumbling. Winner, I say winner has to go to these to the states that are opening up and the people in them that are gonna experience the first signs of normalcy. I'm excited about that. I'm curious to see what happens.
Wow.
They see that the trend is showing that we're flattening the curve, whatever that means. We're going to see it spike again. That's my hypothesis. But I think in the meantime, let's enjoy that. And I think that's a winner for everyone who's going to experience the benefits from that.
All right, Rob, you're up.
So, winner of the week, gotta say, I feel like there's a lot this week, but I'm gonna say Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy.
Yeah.
She got the bag. I think she got a really good contract, and she seems to be a real one. So that's kind of cool to see. Obviously, like I said last week, Portnoy's the winner. He's making a lot of money off this. So, he stays winner every week. Loser, I'm gonna have to go with this morning. Joe Biden. He said some pretty racist stuff.
Oh,
and,
you stole mine. You stole mine.
That's gonna hurt him. I mean, that's a both party thing. Like, you can't no one's gonna be able to really defend that. So I thought that was. I'm not bringing up parties here. I'm just saying that was kind of stupid for him to say. So I think he's kind of the loser, as we've seen trending on social media.
You stole my loser. But I'd say the winner of the week is retrospectively Liberty University. Right after COVID hit the shores of this nation, they decided to reopen and let their students back, whoever felt comfortable coming back. They had about 10,000 of the 12,000 come back. Not a single case of COVID hit their university, at least diagnosed. They transitioned well, they did well, and I think it's kind of an indicator that some universities can take. As well as some winners of the week are some universities that are already making plans to open up early to avoid a second wave in which their first semester gets interrupted. My loser of the week was going to be Joe Biden, but Artie stole that one. That one's tough. It wasn't reported in the mainstream news, but there was a lot of mentions on Twitter about it. A lot of people upset. A lot of people that truthfully, they've said themselves they can never vote for the Republican Party, but the only thing Joe Biden can do is not abandon anybody that would vote Democratic. And honestly, today he did himself a disservice by coming out and saying that you aren't black if you don't vote for him. So I think that shows that he has a lot to work on in his campaign. If he's going to eventually have to come out of his basement in Wilmington, and if it has anything to do with what happened today, it's going to be a tough fall for him. But going off of, since Rob already talked about that, I think my loser of the week is going to be Gretchen Whitmer. She just extended her stay-at-home order another so few days until June 12th. Her constituents are getting tired of it. So are the United States of America. And honestly, I think the partisanship of closed states and open states needs to end. We need to come together as a nation and understand that we're all fighting the same disease. Don't stay closed just because you're blue and want Trump to look bad. Don't go open because you want to make Trump look good. We need to battle for each other in this time. Look at the data. If you can reopen and not endanger the elderly, go for it. And just try to get back to a sense of normalcy, because no matter what your party identification, we're all going through the same struggle. I will have another loser of the week. There was a video that just was released.
That was beautiful, buddy. I have to say that was beautiful.
There was another loser of the week today. A video was released yesterday of a person actually beating up an elderly patient in a nursing home. He posted it himself, and it's absolutely horrific if you watch it. And to post it himself is actually incredibly sickening. And if you watch it, you honestly are not you're changed after you watch that video. And I think it's actually calling attention to the abuses that a lot of people go through in nursing homes across this nation. All right, well, thank you guys. That's going to be the end of our podcast number 2. We hope you enjoyed it. And next week, we hope to have another guest host here on the Death, Taxes, Hot Takes podcast. Submit your questions and topics. We'll talk about them. And we hope to see you next week. Thanks.